That is right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people across the Delaware Valley, people across the
Mm,
world. We
mm.
did not die. We did not retire. We just took a bit of a hiatus after a long Super Bowl run. And yes, the boys, Colin Berger and Dan Glasser the third, are back. The Del Valley Sports Pod is back. Don't call it a comeback. We never left. Part of the Fan First Sports Network. It's good to be back, Dan. How you doing, buddy? It's been too
Yeah,
long.
man. We took a little sabbatical, if you will, and now, the Pope is back in action, so we figured we should be too. So, and to be clear, the Pope we all get it. He's a White Sox fan, not a Chicago Cubs fan. We get it. We get it, poor guy.
I'm sure you saw the video circulating around that he was on the TV feed back in the World Series.
Crazy. It's crazy. How? How did anybody even know that?
It's because whenever he probably became a higher ranking priest, they're like, oh, wait, we definitely saw you back in 06 or whatever it was. And then that video just stayed in someone's archives waiting for him to get higher and higher up. And now he's the Pope and was on the World Series.
That video is circulating right now in this past week, and some drunk dude next to him is telling all of his buddies, that's me next to the Pope.
He wasn't the Pope then, but he is now.
We shotgunned a beer before the game, dude.
that would be wild if you
That
have
would
video
be wild.
of that.
Seems like he was really keeping his composure. Classic.
Yeah. You don't get to be the Pope if you're out there shotgunning beers in the parking lot. You're probably not living the pious life if you're doing that. But enough Pope talk aside. A lot of things have happened in the last 3+ months since we've talked. The Flyers stank. The Sixers stank. The Eagles had their draft. They've let go players, free agency.
Yeah.
Where do you want to start, Dan? You want to start with the Eagles since the last time we talked, it was the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I feel like it makes sense. You got the Bird Gang shirt on. I've got the Eagles hat. Let's let it rip with some Eagles talk.
So I would say the biggest thing in free agency was they lost the players that they kind of expected to lose. Was Milton Williams and Josh Sweat both got paid. I'm not mad about it. Those guys got more money than the Eagles would ever be willing to pay them or could afford to pay them, and good for them. They helped us win a Super Bowl. Milton Williams went from a third D lineman to now being paid like $20 million a year. So
he's getting paid a lot of money, and yeah. I knew Josh Sweat was gone, but I didn't realize he went to the Cardinals. So Milton Williams went to the Patriots, for anyone interested, and Josh Sweat went to the Cardinals, which feels weird. But our former defensive coordinator, right, is still the coach of the
Jonathan Gannon. Yep.
So I guess that's
that guy.
I guess it's kind of interesting that coach picked him back up, basically.
I'm sure there was still a connection there between the two. They worked together for 2 years at least before he got the job at the Cardinals. So you stay in contact with your old coaches.
He's making good money too. I'm seeing a total of, let's see, I just had the total here. 4 years, $76 million. Wow,
yeah, man.
Good for him. That's what happens when you win a Super
right?
Bowl, Colin.
Yep. Yeah, 19 mil a year. And the Patriots the Patriots made a lot of moves in the offseason. Milton Williams, good for him, getting paid. Yeah. The other big note was that they re-signed Zach Bond. And I think that was the most important re-signing that they needed to. I know we're talking 2-3 months ago already, but we at least want to touch on it between the two of us.
And the other guy that we got rid of is what was quite a big surprise, right? CJGJ.
Oh, yes. Did not see that coming. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah.
Now on the Texans in a trade, right? They traded him for a couple picks.
I think you're correct. Yeah. It felt more like we want to get rid of this guy / we don't want to re-sign him in the future, because I don't think he had too much left on his contract. But yeah, that was quite a surprise.
For a guy who seemed like a really big glue guy, locker room guy, hype man, hey, he won them the Super Bowl. Again, he's getting paid. Good for him. I was upset at the time, but I think they'll be just fine with the pieces they have in the secondary.
Pretty weird, right? The whole CJGJ legacy is an Eagle. You know, we have him for
strange.
1 year. He's phenomenal. That was the is that the first time we went to this? Not the first time, but you know, within this last several years. And then we have a breakup with him, basically. And then we get back together, win a Super Bowl, and then we have another breakup with him. It's really weird.
Yeah, we get him from the Saints, right? He takes us to the Super Bowl, but helps us take us to the Super Bowl.
Certainly.
He has a falling out with the fan base, goes to Detroit, comes back, we win a Super Bowl, and then he leaves.
Yeah.
It was strange.
And we sent him out.
Yeah.
You know?
He came back and we're like, nope, you're gone.
All right, we're done with you. Yeah, really weird. Really weird.
Kenny Pickett's gone. Super Bowl champion Kenny Pickett is now on the Browns.
Super Bowl champion, baby. With every other wannabe quarterback.
They have 5 quarterbacks on their depth chart.
It's a crazy organization, dude.
It is absolutely insane. What are they doing? The draft was an absolute shit show with the Shedeur Sanders situation. You want to put some alliteration there.
Crazy.
I mean, they say it was the most watched draft since 2020 when nobody was going outside. And of course it has to be because Shedeur was on the board until the 5th round and everybody's wondering where he's going to go.
Yeah, I think it's probably the most that people have ever paid attention to those late rounds just because he was projected to be like, I think Kuiper had him as the first or second greatest quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah. And he ends up being, I don't know, 7th
Crazy,
quarterback taken. It was
crazy.
Nuts.
He was taken so late that the team that picked him up had already gotten a quarterback already in the draft.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
They already took Dylan Gabriel, and they're like, might as well take a flyer on Sanders since he's still there in the 5th round.
Crazy stuff, man.
It was. As far as the draft goes for the Eagles, we get Jahad Campbell, linebacker out of Alabama, who, from what I heard, was maybe a top 10 talent, but slipped to the end of the 1st round due to injury concerns. So what do you know anything I don't know? What are your thoughts on Jahad Campbell?
I won't come on here and pretend to be any kind of expert about the draft in general and a lot of the talent.
And me neither.
And part of that is I care about other sports way too much, so it's hard for me to spend that much time getting invested when like and NHL playoffs are happening and all this other stuff. There's only so much time.
And it also takes being focused on college football.
Correct. But everything that I say is more stuff that I've heard from other sources. And everything that I've kind of heard about this guy is that definitely athletic and really, really versatile. So a guy that in college could do a lot of different things between rushing the quarterback, but then also athletic and quick enough to cover guys. It's always interesting when you get those kind of guys because a guy that's that dominant and versatile in college, are we going to see the same versatility at the pro level where everyone else is much better? You know what I mean? And I tend to lean towards no. Like that's so hard to pull off. I hope that he can be that, show that same versatility. But at the end of the day, my philosophy is more, I lean towards hoping he's good at least one thing, like really good at least one thing. It's just, I feel like we see that. I remember, I can't like fully compare him to this guy just in terms of, I don't know the talent enough, but do you remember that guy, he was drafted probably maybe 5 years ago now. His name was like Isaiah Simmons.
Yes, out of Clemson, I believe.
Out of Clemson, and he was this athletic freak. Didn't really have a position, right? He was kind of like a linebacker, but
hybrid edge rusher,
super
linebacker,
hybrid, unbelievable athlete, can't fail. Well, he hasn't really. I want to say he's with a different team now. A part of me wants to say ended with the Giants, but I could be wrong.
He just got picked up within the last month, and he was on free agency because whatever team or teams he had been on, it didn't work out for him. If memory serves me correctly, I'm pretty sure he was the number 9 overall pick a few years back. If you want to fact check me on that,
really impressive though. Really, okay. So he was with the Giants last year. So Cardinals drafted him. I didn't remember that, and then he went to the Giants.
Got it. Yeah, and I think he was just picked up by someone.
You're probably right. I just am looking at. Oh, it looks like the Packers might have picked him up.
Yeah, that's it. I saw it on Twitter.
So again,
tweeted it out.
I'm not saying that these guys are the same guys, but that's like the person that comes to mind when I hear this extreme versatility. And I think Simmons was a little different, but at the same time, the versatility in my mind at the college level might not translate to being the same versatile player at the pro level. So I hope that we can just find at least something that he excels at. I don't know that I expect the same abilities. I don't know. That's just my thoughts.
He kind of plays the same position that Nolan Smith does, right? Kind of drafted as a semi linebacker / edge rusher, right? I guess Jahad Campbell's probably more of a stock outside linebacker and borderline edge rusher. Nolan Smith more of a guy. Yeah. Well, I'm saying more than a standard edge rusher. Like Nolan Smith is more that than ever 100%. In coverage. Yeah,
100%.
But if I would say he's a comp to somebody on the Eagles that they expect him to be, I would say Nolan Smith. And if he reaches that level of talent and production, then the Eagles got a great pick at 31 with that, which, if memory serves me correctly, isn't that the same spot they took Nolan Smith 2 years ago?
Yeah. See, my read on it is that people thought, and again, so it's so much this is like lip service right now because we don't know what they're going to want to do with them necessarily at this point in time. It's not like they've come out and said, this is exactly how we see this guy. We see him play in this position, whatever, and that they shouldn't do that. But I kind of was understanding more that people thought he might do some inside middle linebacker stuff as well. And probably part of that is because like that's kind of a hole right now with the Nakobe Dean injury. And a lot of people think that this confirms that there's no way the Eagles sign Nakobe Dean after next year or during next year, whichever you want to say.
It all depends on how he shakes out from this injury, which is a terrible one. And hopefully he can get back on the field at some point next year and get back to where he was pre-injury. But that's all up in the air, given a torn patella. It's awful.
Terrible injury. And one last thing I really do want to point out is I don't want to hang my hat on how this guy does or does not, if he does well this year or does not do well this year, because the names you just listed, Nolan Smith, his first year didn't look great. Like he looked like a bust in my opinion. First year or two for Nakobe Dean, I know he had some injuries too, but he looked like a bust. I think it's really underrated how long it takes the linebacker position, a lot of positions, but the linebacker position, the IQ side of it, I think it's a lot more complicated than people think. And I don't want to, I'm really telling myself that if he doesn't have a successful year this year, it doesn't mean he's not going to be a good player, because there's a lot of guys on that team, especially that linebacker position, that were not good immediately when we drafted him, but were really good last year. So,
and I think there's something to be said about being in college and being in the pros and how it's different on your training and your weightlifting, your complete regimen of fulfilling out your body. You're pretty much a full grown man when you're drafted at 2021, but you don't have the same amount of time or things at your disposal to work out and build yourself every day of every year. So it takes a little while for these guys to get to full NFL, bodies. And I think that was the case for Dean and Smith. And once they finally got, their NFL strength and whatnot, that it's clear that they got better as the first 2 years went on.
Yeah, 100%. It's nice to know we have a competent coach in the building too.
That too, yeah.
Seriously.
I guess the last thing, Saquon got paid, right? That happened after the Super Bowl. Good for him. He deserves it. Yeah, absolutely. I can't think of any more shaking Eagles news. Oh, well, recently we finally found out the schedule. We talked about that back in the winter. Opening against Dallas. What do you think, man? Against the Cowboys?
Feels like a little bit of I'll get behind it, whatever, but it feels like the opening game already has so much hype. You almost want to save those Dallas games for later on, just because they're always going to be extra hype to them. But whatever. My dad did text me. He said 10 of Eagles' 17 games are against teams that made playoffs last year.
Interesting.
Quite.
I haven't gotten to dive into the schedule yet. It's been a very busy week. I did see that some of their games were pretty tough. I love that they're playing the Cowboys at the opening game. I mean, yes, bring it to the ultimate hype. I would rub it in their face that we have two, and they haven't been to the Super Bowl in either of our lifetimes, basically, which is wild. Yeah. I love it.
Shout out David Akers. Shout out David Akers.
Yes.
Yeah. You weren't even born yet.
Sounds like Bart Simpson in my head.
It was a great line, too. Great line, and it came from a kicker, which is extra insulting.
Speaking of that pick, Dallas Goedert also got re-signed, which was a question mark going into this year.
Had to be, my opinion.
By not taking a tight end, I think at all in the draft, that was what was going to happen, right?
Yeah.
He had to think.
Yeah.
I'm on board with it. I'm glad he's back.
Listen, him and Grant were a great combo last year. He'll get hurt, and then Kyle Katerra is going to come in, and Goddard. I forget what it was, man. We pulled up some Goddard playoff stats. He's like one of the top Eagles. He's like one of the. Sorry, I got distracted by a message that we just got. But do you remember Dallas Goedert has the most touchdowns or close to the most touchdowns ever for the Eagles postseason leaders?
Yes, we talked about that during the playoff run after his stiff arm touchdown, right?
Yeah. That was such an awesome play. Do you remember if he was one? I'm going to try to pull it up, but
I think he was number 2.
I want to say you're right by one of the old timer guys.
Was it It wasn't Carmichael. Yeah, I remember we talked about this. I can't remember. While you look that up.
You talk it out.
Shout out Iceman Owens, always on the live feed. Love that. He said that they were showing draft footage from the green room, or the situation room, if you will, and that Howie was trying to pick up to 22 to get Campbell. We were able to get him at 31, so it feels good to get our guy when we did. I have to agree with that.
Carmichael at number 1 with 6. Dallas Goedert at number 2 with 4.
I'm surprised I remember all this stuff after it's been 3 months.
That was well
since
done.
We talked.
That was well done.
Don't expect this to be an all summer thing, Dan. You know my brain's fried mid-July. So, all right. Well, let's wrap up on the Eagles. I know we want to keep it short. Let's go Phillies. Or you know what? Actually, let's play taps for our winner teams. They both tanked out the wazoo. Go ahead.
All right. So the Flyers stink. But I heard yesterday, or I saw yesterday, Rick Tocchet.
Yup, Rick Tocchet.
It's
now
so
the coach of the Flyers.
Crazy. Like, this team has had, you just wouldn't think that a premier coach would go to a club that's been pretty terrible.
Well,
right? I mean, that guy could have probably gone to any open spot he wanted, right? He's he could have stayed at Vancouver. They wanted him to stay at Vancouver.
Yeah.
He's a great coach by all intents and purposes.
So when he left the Canucks, what was like a month ago, I heard all over social media and the radio, people were bringing up, Tocchet left the Canucks. He didn't re-sign. Is he coming to Philly? And everybody's like, if we sign another former Flyers player as our head coach and we bring another retread in here. Yeah, he was drafted in the 6th round by the Flyers in 83.
Wow.
Played for a litany of other teams. But yeah, he's a former Flyer, played back in the 80s and early 90s, I believe. And so now they have Briere, they have Jonesy, they have Rick Tocchet. All 3 of the mainstays of the lead organization are former Flyers. And it feels like the Snyder era, where that's all they wanted to do was just bring in old Flyers guys. And I know a lot of the fan base is like, please, let's get away from that. Flyer forever has not gotten us anywhere. It's gotten us 50 years of nothing. So I'm interested to see what happens.
See, I would just disagree that this is a Flyer forever move, though, because this guy has been coaching for a while. He's coached a number of teams. It doesn't I feel like Briere and Keith Jones, correct me if I'm wrong, but kind of their only history of being in those type of positions is with the Flyers, right? I can understand the Flyers forever there, but to me, Rick Tocchet does not feel like a Flyers homer thing. I mean, he's been a well-established coach in the league for, I think he's coached like 3 different teams at this point.
Yeah, Lightning, Coyotes, and recently the Canucks.
So I don't know that I agree that feels like a homer Flyer move for me personally.
That was what I heard and saw, and I kind of understood it because it is one of those, like, we're hiring another former Flyer, but they haven't had success with their last few coaches. I appreciated what Tortorella was able to do for this team while he was here, but he clearly wasn't the right fit for the direction that they're going.
Right.
He brings a good team and makes them better. He doesn't bring a young team that's bad and make them playoff worthy. There was just two organizations and people going in opposite directions there.
I feel good about it. I'm going to say a part of this is because of me, and I have a Vancouver Canucks hat from, this past year, and I think that some weird happened where, my wife went to Vancouver, got me that hat, and now Rick Tockett's coming over this way. So, hopefully it works out so that I can keep saying that. But
hey, I'm on board with it.
I like it.
I'm not against it. I don't know much about Rick Tocchet as it pertains to his coaching record or resume. So, hey, you know what? What am I to judge? Let's go. Anything could be better than last year. The only thing that sucked was the draft lottery, which I watched. Did you watch that?
No.
Good. It was the worst half hour of my life. In the fact that I couldn't understand what the hell was going on. I had to look it up on Twitter and the internet to understand. It is this crazy formula, like it's like literally a lottery. Like teams were assigned a 4-digit number, and then all these balls came out. It was an absolute cluster. What happened was the New York Islanders jumped up 12 spots to get the number 1 pick, and literally screwed a whole bunch of teams. The Flyers went from 4 to 6. So the luck of getting booted in the NHL draft continues, or at least the bad luck of the NHL draft continues for the Flyers.
It doesn't seem like it was a draft where there was a clear number 1 dude, though. So
no, it doesn't. There's no Connor Bedard.
I think next year is one of most of the time. It seems like it is the case for hockey. I think next year, from what I heard, is going to be that way. I forget the kid's name.
I feel like it's every other year.
Yeah,
it's like one year it's like, oh, we generational superstar, and then they're like, okay, there's a lot of good players that can go top 5. We're not really sure consensus.
Last 2 definitely Celebrini was, I would say, unanimous, and then Bedard.
Yeah,
are the last 2 I can think of. Yeah.
So, all right, there's our hockey minute. The Sixers did move up 1 in their lottery.
They really lucked out from what I hear.
Yeah.
Imagine that. The 76ers lucked out. That's a sentence I never thought I'd say.
No. They tanked and it actually worked. But again, how the hell did the Dallas Mavericks come from out of nowhere?
That is crazy.
Do you believe in the frozen envelope, Dan? I've heard a lot of conspiracy theories about this.
I can't just because everybody else is, so I'm not interested in believing it myself. What I believe in, this really wants me to use one of my favorite quotes and burn it to the ground. Luck is the residue of design, but it is true. That's what the Mavericks GM is probably saying right now, because if they never traded Doncic, they wouldn't have been in this position, right? And they traded him, and the residue is there to a tune of 1.8%, I think.
Yeah.
So that's what he'd be saying right now. That is, you just hate to see I feel like you hate to see him get lucky there, but
yeah,
it is an interesting story. It is
like the worst trade in NBA history.
But why can't you look at it? Why can't you look at it the other day though? Why can't you look at it the other way? Isn't it fair to say? I'm not saying I believe this, but I'm just saying, playing devil's advocate. Can you look at it the other way and be like, you know what? Everybody said he made the worst trade, and maybe he got a little lucky, but this wouldn't have happened if he didn't make that trade. It is true.
It wouldn't have happened also if what's his face got hurt, and same with
Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, Irving and Why am I blanking
torn
on his name?
Achilles, right?
Yeah, and then the
Just
guy,
like Tatum,
the other big guy from the Lakers,
Anthony
What?
Davis.
That guy, yeah. I
well,
was going to say
that
Anthony
we all
Edwards.
knew was. I mean, he was literally hurt. I think when they traded for him.
Yeah. Sorry, I was thinking Anthony Edwards. Different Anthony.
Crazy stuff. Crazy. But I think that 3, from what I hear, again, not a draft guy expert, but writes for Ricky Sanchez is where I go for a lot of my NBA stuff. They're really good. And it seems like the NBA draft is clear number 1, Cooper Flagg, and then I forget his name, but there's a pretty clear number 2 guy. And then from what I'm hearing, a lot of people think 3 through, I don't have the exact number, but 3 onward, there's a lot of guys, a lot of options. So getting the 3rd pick is kind of, because they got 3, correct? 3 is kind of ideal. 3 sounds like it's the pick with the most options, meaning if you like 2 or 3 guys, maybe you get a chance to do kind of a trade back, still feel great about the pick, and then get a couple extra picks or something. But from what I hear, 3, if you're not going to have 1 or 2, 3 is like, maybe that sounds stupid on paper. Like 3 is better than 4, But seriously, 3 seems like it has the most options, whereas the other ones would be clear, like 1 is 1, 2 is 2. And then, obviously if you got like 5 or 6, you'd probably be on the, there's only 1 or 2 left in that top tier branch or 1B branch there. So 3 is I'll end the rambling by 3 seems like it's a very interesting pick with a lot of options. So we'll see how they screw it up.
Yeah, my thoughts on that is that they have the pick of best available that best fits their team. And they're not shoehorned into a player if they were, say, 5 or 6 and the player that best fit their team went 3 or 4 and they're like, well, now we got to either reach or take best available. They can do both. They can take best player that is the best fit for them. That's
the only problem is people are so excited, but at the end of the day, Joel Embiid's knee is still probably gone.
Yeah.
Okay, he took this year off basically because they couldn't figure out how to get his knee to work. You think, how is that magically going to change?
It's not, man.
There's no way to resolve this issue. There's no surgery. So, what are we doing? You know what I mean?
Consider this my final statement on the Sixers. The Embiid that we once saw, we will never see again. That MVP level Embiid, I don't think we're ever going to see that
and
again.
It's a shame. It's sad. It's really sad, but yeah. 100% true. I just don't think it's physically possible for it to not be true. But
no. Forever injured, forever wondering what could have been.
What could have been, Colin.
But let's get to a little bit of happier news and talk about. Wait. I forgot one thing. This is episode number 66.
Ooh.
Which makes this the Bill Berge episode.
Bill Berge. That's
the 66 that popped into my head. I just wanted to keep that rolling.
Man, I thought there was I feel like
Did Yager wear 66? No, he was 68.
I'm sure he wore 66 at some point in time. He played for 50 teams.
Yeah. Except when he was on the Pens, because that was Lemieux's number.
Oh, good pull.
The Philadelphia Phillies. The last 3 days, not the best. They lost another series, having won, I don't know, it was 6 or 7. They've won every series since getting swept by the Mets, which was good. Prior to the loss against the Cardinals, they are 25-18, which winning percentage-wise has them on track for 94 wins. So as far as I'm concerned, they are right about where I would expect them to be. There's been some really bad games. There's been some really good games. There's been great individual performances. There's been lackluster slumps. I'll give you the floor, Dan. What is your take on the Phillies through the first month and a half of the season?
Oh, man. Hard to blanket statement it, but honestly, at the end of the day, they're just kind of rolling. They're kind of rolling in the middle, Mm-hmm. They're having some great moments. They're having some not so great moments, but generally speaking, they're just kind of doing what they have to do. from a greater sample size than just one series that we're going to analyze or two series that we're going to analyze. At the end of the day, they're just kind of winning most series that they participate in and pushing away. Is kind of my thought at the end of the day. Now, there's so much to talk about within that, but the big picture, right? Because there's so many aspects of the game, but the big picture is that they're kind of like just subtly having a pretty good season, in my opinion.
Yeah,
as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, getting swept by the Mets was, the city's on fire. This team is awful. We've lost, 6 of 7 games to the Mets over the last 6 months. That was, I think, maybe the low point
Good
of
framing there, huh?
Yeah. Well, it was. I mean, like, we got blown out by them in the playoffs, and now we go up there and we get swept. Clearly, the Mets are our kryptonite. And then they go and win 5 series after that, 5 or 6. I don't know the exact number, but they righted the ship. Just when we thought, this could turn into a really bad slide and they could, have issues in the locker room because it's the same locker room as last year minus Max Kepler. That didn't happen. People were ready to fire Topper after that Mets series, and they have steadied the ship. I'm not getting worked up. I am one of those guys like, okay, they're going to lose games. People are going to go through slumps. Stuff's not going to look great all the time, but as long as they're winning series, which they have been, I'm not freaking out. Again, they're on pace for 94 wins. They're 4th in winning percentage in the NL. They're in a playoff spot right now. 2.5 games behind the Mets. I'm not worried. I think this is right where the Phillies expected to be. It's right where I expected them to be. I'm happy. I don't know. I can't remember the word I was trying to think of, but anyway,
I'm happy.
I am. Yeah, I'm content.
Happy.
That's content. What I'm content. Yeah.
Let's talk about some players. Let's get a little bit more specific. Do you want to talk about some players to highlight? Maybe we go through a couple to highlight.
Sure.
Thumbs up, if you will.
Yeah. Thumbs up to.
And we'll go try to go like full, not just this past series. Let's more big picture approach. If you're cool with that,
full season. Yeah, absolutely. I'll start. Thumbs up, Bryson Stott in the leadoff hole.
Yes, that's a great one, Colin.
They've played great since he's done that. I don't have the exact record, but I know they are more than a few games over 500. I kind of missed the leadoff Schwarbaum a little bit, but hey, if they're winning games, that's fine. I'll go second. Thumbs up to Max Kepler for finding his stride and his position on this team. Didn't have a great first few weeks, but over the last few weeks, consistently getting on base, popping in a homer every now and then, seems reliable in left field and defense. So thumbs up, Max Kepler, and also great number, Mr. 17. Love that.
Yeah, that's a great number. I just want to back up your Stott remarks real quick here. Batting first in the lineup, he has 27 hits in 107 at-bats. That's an average of 252, and his OBP is 308. Not bad. And what's not included here is how many bags he's stealing. He's stealing bags at a pretty high rate as well. 2 home runs at the leadoff. Batting first. Now, I'm saying batting first in a lineup. I'm not talking about specifically his first at bat of the game. That'd be less at bats, obviously. But yeah, and he's got 2 triples. The guy got faster, I think, somehow. I don't know if that's possible, but
training, man.
I love that pick because last year was a step down for him, and he literally didn't look like the same guy. This year, he's starting to look like that Stott of 2 years ago. That approach looks so much similar. And in the offseason, especially like in spring training and stuff, they were talking about how he had a little bit of a weird injury type, nervy type thing that he was working through last year. It's like a breath of fresh air to see that his approach looks similar to how it did previous to last year. Because he's such a fun at bat. The way he can foul off pitches and hang in there and work the pitcher. He really is like a great leadoff hitter. He just didn't have that approach last year, so it didn't work out.
That is when you were bringing up the stolen bases, I thought you were going to bring up how great it is to have a leadoff hitter that sees 7 to 10 pitches from time to time. And that's a great way to start out a lineup, or the second time you're around a lineup, be able to just add pitches to that pitch count of the opponent. Awesome. I remember talking about that. One, it was the little injury that he had in spring training. And two, remember we talked about he had just had a kid. So he was dealing with a newborn all last year.
Yeah, dude.
Factor that in with him being shuffled around the lineup between 6 and 9, never really had his spot. I think all of those things have run its course. He's now a year removed from any stress that was causing. Mm-hmm. He's back in a consistent position. And it is clearly paying off well for him and the Phillies as a whole. I'm really on board with it. I didn't think I would be. I loved Schwarber at the leadoff, but hey, the results are the results, and I'm on. Let's go, man.
I love this. And so one of my players I'm going to pick is Kyle Schwarber, who just like keeps getting better.
It's wild.
Somehow. And he looks – is this the sexy Schwarber year?
It might be.
He looks amazing, does he not? You can't tell me that guy doesn't. He doesn't
look faster. He doesn't look faster, but he looks fitter.
He looks fit. Like he looks strong. He's always looked strong, but he looks like kind of like lean strong right now. You know what I mean? He really does look fit. Not skinny, just like really fit. The coolest thing about Kyle Schwarber that you may or may not know. So the reason that they do that lineup thing is they try to do the lefty-righty. And, of course, Harper and Schwarber have been hitting back-to-back, and Schwarber is a lefty, as is Harper. Do you know how many home runs Schwarber has against lefty pitchers this year? So do you need – I can give you his total if you need it.
It's 14, right? Or is it 15 now?
I believe 15. I got all these tabs.
Is he still tied with Aaron Judge for the league?
So 15, and for the league, I believe you're correct. He's tied with Judge for 15.
I'm going to say 9 off of lefties.
9 off of lefties. He has 7 home runs off of lefties.
But still, as
not
a lefty-lefty
matchup. Not
matchup.
only does that lead the league in lefty-lefty home runs, he straight up leads the league in home runs against left-handed pitchers.
That's awesome.
He's batting .309 against lefties. His OPS is 1.186. It's crazy, dude. He's the best hitter as of right now for the home run ball, and honestly, the average is really good too, although Aaron Judge's numbers are going to be tough for anybody to beat. We really should talk about what he's doing, but we don't have to. It's unbelievable. He leads the league in home runs against lefties with 7. Just incredible stuff there, man. And he's the only guy. Like Judge, of course, is a right-handed hitter. I think Teoscar, he has got 5. A lot of these guys are right-handed hitters, so he's just playing. He's just unbelievable at the plate right now, and it's really cool because they got the back-to-back lefties with Harper and Schwarber, but he's not hitting like a typical left-on-left matchup right now. He's actually had a ton of success from both righties and lefties, or against.
Not affecting him in any way. I think it might have been Sunday Night Baseball when they were playing against the Cardinals the other night. They were mentioning how Schwarber and Judge were tied for the lead, and I think it was David Cohn's like, you look at Aaron Judge, he's 6'7", and then you look at Schwarber, he's 5'11", but just got a massive chest. They couldn't be more different athletic individuals when you look at them, but they both have extreme power, and it comes from different sources, if you will. I thought that was really remarkable.
Judge.
Yeah, right. But Schwarber says, not so fast, my friend.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's so funny. Like every time, it's kind of ridiculous, but every time he hits a home run, it feels like McCarthy's like, oh my gosh, he's so strong. Oh gosh, can you believe that? Yeah, Tom, he sure is strong, isn't he, Tom? Like every time.
You do a really good Crocker. That was good. Yeah, Tom, he's kind of strong. Yeah.
Sure is, Tom. Think he eats less hot dogs than I do there, Tom.
That's great. We need more Dan Kruk.
It's the best combo of baseball.
Dude, it's awesome.
It's really good. I just feel like we haven't seen that much Kruk. Man, there's like a week where he was just gone, and I didn't know why. Maybe he's back now, but...
Yeah, he's back. I think he just kind of took a week off, and they had some away series, and he's obviously not there.
Yeah.
It is Tuesday evening and golf is winding down, so I'm giving us a little 5-minute warning here. We'll wrap up the Phillies. We'll get out of here. I know we both got things to do and people to see and places to be.
One more player that we just need to give him flowers.
Go. I was going to say, if you want to take one more, I'll take one more, and maybe we can even do second for your end. I'll make it 3-3.
I don't think we're talking enough about the year Trey Turner's having, dude.
I beg to differ on that. We're not talking about it enough. I just think it is remarkable in and of itself what has happened.
I don't think we're talking about it enough. Now, the fielding side of things, he'll frustrate you. And, he'll make an unbelievable play, and then wow, you know what? This is crazy, too. I'm looking at the hits on the Phils, and I'm seeing Nick Castellanos has 47, second most on the team. What's going on? But it's a shout-out to Nick there. But, dude, Trey Turner is, like, basically top 5 in all of baseball with hits.
Yeah, isn't he?
And he's
batting
got 10
some crazy
steals.
He's batting like 400 some in his last 15 games. Around that figure, right? I don't know if you have that number.
Last 10
He's on a tear right now.
Year to date, I can give you last 7. Last 7, he is hitting. I got him at 240.
Oh wow.
Last 15, I got him at 333.
Okay, so that's gone down.
You have to figure that there was the doubleheader yesterday that was like almost those 2 games, almost 10 at bats probably.
Yeah. Well, if he's batting 240 in his last 7 and that's still 330 for the last 15, it was prior to this like last 7, that prior 15, I heard he was over 400 for a period of time.
Yeah, I mean, last 30 days, you're still talking 339 with 37 hits, dude.
Yeah.
The only thing is he's not hitting with power. But you know what? If you're going to steal a bag half the time, I'd love to see the success rate a little bit higher. But if you're going to steal the bag and you have freaking Harper, and it's almost like you got 2 leadoff guys at 1 and 2 right now.
Yeah. Which
both
is not a problem.
Just get on base.
And then you have
really fast.
And then you have 2 cleanup hitters at 3 and 4.
Yeah, it really is that way.
I will I'll give a thumbs down here. I think Bryce Harper has not reached his stride yet at the plate.
Yeah.
I think he will. I'm not pushing any panic buttons. I don't think anybody, well, I'm sure some people are. I'm not pushing a panic button. Bryce Harper is going to be fine. He's going to rake like an MVP at some point during the summer. He's just going through a slow stretch right now. He's still going to hit a home run every now and then. He just might not get the doubles and extra base hits that we're accustomed to seeing all the time. But I'm still not worried.
Doesn't it almost make you feel better about the team that they're playing pretty good ball right now, and the quote-unquote best hitter on the team has been bad?
Absolutely. Makes you feel better.
If there's one guy on the team who would go through a slump and we'd be like, he'll figure it out, isn't he at the top of that list?
Yes.
Like, he's probably number 1 on that list, right?
Absolutely, no question.
So it's kind of I would love to see him smoking the ball. When Bryce Harper's hitting the ball, it is good for baseball and good for us. But if there's one guy that you have confidence that he's gonna figure it out, because he just can't stand being bad. I don't know. I think it's Bryce Harper.
Yeah, he's gonna figure it out. He is still Bryce Harper. That has not changed. He'll be fine, and the Phillies will be fine. They're winning at almost a 600% clip without Bryce Harper being at his full potential. That's a good sign for the Phillies. One more, just because it's deserved, dude. We didn't talk about the pitching at all. Freaking Jesus Luzardo, the pickup of the year to this point, in my opinion. I agree.
Guy's been awesome, dude.
Nails, man.
Holy crap. He's been okay. Quick, I wanted to say this real fast. So hey, if you want to pull up some more specifics, you can. But the pitching staff, dude, I know Nola has been bad. Yeah. I almost want to just throw yesterday in the. I don't know what was going on yesterday. It was a doubleheader. I wonder. Both pitchers,
like 60 degrees and raining. It was awful. It was awful weather.
I'm willing to just disregard it because both pitchers were trash. Sonny Gray was trash, and he's not like an ace, but he's a good pitcher. Like that was a weird, wacky game. But at any rate, gotta feel good about the pitching staff. It really. The fact that there's no room for Taijuan Walker, and he's honestly been having like a totally serviceable year. And then we have freaking Andrew Painter, who I'm hearing only amazing things about Andrew Painter's trajectory. Also, a side note that I was just thinking about the other day, kind of love that Garrett Stubbs, who's been with the Phillies in the major leagues for how many years? Like 3 to 5 years, something like that. So he's a pro, dude. And now Andrew Painter has afforded this basically like pro catcher to help bring him along in the trip. I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, that's huge, dude.
That never came to my mind, but I love that.
Dude, that's huge because Stubbs knows, like, you know, in the AAA, you hear about it all the time, like, the level of ability is so much lower than the major leagues. It just is. Like, I've heard that, like, Andrew Painter can probably just use his fastball to dominate games. But I love that freaking a veteran catcher is down there. Sucks for Stubbs, but he's playing a huge role, in my opinion. You got a guy who's a veteran. He knows what you got to do to get out dudes in the big leagues, and they're going to work on that in AAA before he's up there. I was just thinking about that, and I was like, that's kind of clutch, man.
I did not think of that. And I know they had to send him down because they couldn't send Marchand down because he's more of a veteran and all that. But, yeah, I never thought about the fact that Andrew Painter is getting to work with a pro experienced catcher, and that is only going to make him better in this stint that he is in. I think he's in AAA now, or is he still down in AA?
I think he's in AAA.
Yeah, I thought so,
because that's
too.
where Stubbs is, right?
Yeah. He started down in single A for a little bit. I think he's moved up. And from what I have been hearing over the last few years is that by the end of the season, he should be called up to the big leagues. We'll see what he has. And there's been hype around this guy for like 4 years now.
Yeah.
It's a shame that he had Tommy John 2 years ago. But
yeah,
you know, he's young enough to recover, and I can't wait to see what this guy has.
It doesn't seem to have had any effect on his ability, just his timeline.
Yeah, I agree. So I think that is a good.
So this pitching staff, but that was kind of my point too, is like this pitching staff, you could argue is one of the best in baseball, starting pitching wise. And they just happen to have a dude in the minors that people are projecting could be an ace.
Yeah.
Like an ace, a dude. That's exciting.
We got an ace in the hole, literally.
Ace in the hole. Yeah, we got an ace in the pocket. That's just that's crazy. I think that's crazy, dude. That makes me really freaking excited. But that also makes me think one of these guys currently in the rotation, I feel like one of them's gonna get dealt, dude.
Probably.
Too much value. One of them's got to get dealt.
Sanchez or Suarez, if you had to put money on it.
Money or so, like, what do I think's gonna happen, or what would I prefer?
Both.
Oh, that's so tough, dude. Because
I know I'm putting you on the spot.
We're just the heartstrings to Ranger. I don't think that I can say what would I prefer because it's hard. You just love Ranger too much. Well, who would I think they'd get rid of? They'd probably be quicker to trade Ranger just because I think I don't have it in front of me, but I have to imagine Sanchez is maybe like a touch younger. And I don't know. You can't argue with a guy that can throw gas. And Sanchez has been showing a lot of growth in the last year or so. Like he's continually got better and better and throws harder and harder, which is crazy. So I would guess that they would trade Ranger, but they probably would get more value out of trading Sanchez.
I agree with you there. And you nailed it. Christopher Sanchez is about a year younger than Ranger.
Okay.
Just a tick.
Both younger. Lefties, too.
Yep.
So,
I don't know.
Higher value, I think.
Yeah.
Generally speaking. Yeah, dude. It's impressive, the pitching staff. It really is impressive, the pitching staff they've put together.
All they need is a little help in the bullpen and maybe right-handed power bat if they can get one. But, you know, those are a dime a dozen. No, sorry.
Yeah.
Few and far between. That's not what I meant. You know what I meant.
I knew exactly what you meant. Yeah, I did.
Well, Dan, I think this is a good stopping point for us. It was really nice to hop back on. It's been way too long. I know we've been trying to get back on and, you know, life gets in the way, which is fine. Stuff happens. But I'm really glad we did this. And I can't wait. Tonight's an off night for the Phillies, but I can't wait to watch some golf this weekend. Continue watching the Phils every night. It's great. I love this time of year.
Gonna watch some golf. Gonna go golfing on Saturday, Colin. Gonna try and keep my composure out there. Try to see if we can keep it in the low triple digits maybe this time.
Right.
And yeah, just got to hit a couple nice ones to keep me coming back. That's all we're trying to do.
And I'm going to go out on Sunday, I believe.
All right.
Try and swing the sticks. Haven't really played much this year, so I need to get out and start. So it's going to be a good weekend, and hopefully the weather is better in Pittsburgh than it had been the last few weeks, because I know it's been a little dreary.
A little rainy. We're trying to grow some grass, though. So really, when you're trying to grow some grass, it does change your perspective on rain, I will say.
Yeah. Rain is a good thing.
Rain is a good
Brian
thing.
once said that.
Rain is a good thing because it leads to beer somewhere, I think. So
yeah. Rain makes corn, and corn makes whiskey, and whiskey makes my baby drink some coffee.
And they said that guy wasn't good at math, Colin.
No, he wasn't. Neither am I, but it's fine. Dan, it's been a pleasure. This has been episode 66. To everybody who has hopped on, streamed, listened, popped in, commented, we appreciate you, and we can't wait to talk to you next time. Dan, be well. Love you, buddy.
Love you, buddy. Good stuff. Talk to you next week.
Go Phils.
Go Phils.